Morning. Good afternoon. All right, Madhvi Gokur, Registration Services Manager at AFRINIC. I'll be talking about what my team actually works on a daily basis. So we, at the Registration Services Department, we take care of the core services of AFRINIC as a regional internet registry. Our time is divided into managing internet number resources, giving support to the resource holders on reverse DNS, getting them to manage the resources that they have from us, the internet routing registry, the WHOIS database as well. And we are also stakeholders in policy, impact analysis and implementation of ratified policies. And we also work on projects that affect the core services that AFRINIC offers, as well as the tools that affect the membership, our members. So, coming to Internet Number Resource Management, we at AFRINIC have a pool of resources that can have free statuses available, which means they are available and shall be issued to resource members who can satisfy the applicable resource policies as allocations or assignments. Allocated or assigned status, meaning that these are registered on the AFRINIC WHOIS database and delegated to an organization. And reserve status is usually for the resources that are available, but they're not available for immediate allocations and assignments. So on the 2nd of April 2017, we hit the phase 1 of the soft landing policy, which triggered actually what we call the IPv4 exhaustion at AFRINIC. And until 2 days ago, we have issued about 10 million of IP addresses, okay, since we hit that phase 1, so, which leaves us with roughly 5 million of IP addresses, of IPv4 addresses, available until we reach phase 2 of the soft landing phase. And we, based on the allocation rates at the moment, we believe that the soft landing phase 2 could happen in May 2019. But it also depends if after we leave this event here, that we don't get an increase in the number of resource requests from the members that we have already met. In terms of the IPv4 exhaustion, now in phase 1, the current phase that we are in at the moment, there were some changes. So we can, in the prefix size that we can issue to our members, so the size can be anything between a /24, which is 256 IP addresses, to a /13, which is roughly 512,000 of IPv4 addresses. The needs of our members must cover a span of 8 months as from the time of the request, and existing members, if they come in to get for more resources, they need to have used 90% usage of all their resources held. In the phase 2, the rules will change. That is when AFRINIC will have as available pool of IPv4 about 2 million of IPv4 addresses available. And as from that moment, any organization coming to request for resources, whether they are not yet a member or they are a member, they can get a minimum of a /24, that means 256 IPv4 addresses, to a /22, which is 1,024 IP addresses. Their needs shall cover the next 8 months, and again, the eligibility for more resources shall be if they have used 90% usage of all their resources they hold. Now, this is not what staff, these are not the rules that staff have made up. These are rules that came from policies, and tomorrow is the whole day dedicated to resource policy discussions. So one of the policies, more than one policy, actually requested AFRINIC to reserve some resources. We have some AS numbers that are reserved for Internet exchange points, and they are only issued when Internet exchange points come and ask for that. We have IPv4 resources, 2/16s, that are also reserved for Internet exchange points, and they're only issued 2 exchange points under those policy. And the /12, this reservation came in place last year in April when we reached the soft landing phase, and this /12 is actually reserved for future use, yet unforeseen. So it's kept aside, but we don't know what it will be used for at the moment. Another service that AFRINIC has started offering, it's been 4 years now, so is the Internet Routing Registry. Before 2014, the AFRINIC members wanting to use an Internet Routing Registry were either going to the RIPE NCC or using paid services of RADB, for example. Okay. So when we launched this service in 2014, it was offered as a free service to our AFRINIC members. It was actually a closed routing registry, and only the AFRINIC members could use it, and they had no extra payment to make to AFRINIC to actually use this service. And this greatly increased the ease of use and maintaining the route objects, because the resources are registered in the AFRINIC WHOIS database, which is linked to the Internet Routing Registry. So with their own accounts, they could manage the resources and the route objects as well. Okay. And one of the specificity of our routing registry was, because it was closed to our members, then we were not, there are no other organizations that could use it. So the data that is held in the Internet Routing Registry belongs to our members. So there were rules that if you hold prefixes from AFRINIC, then you can use the routing registry. If the prefixes are not with AFRINIC, you cannot use the routing registry. So it was already denied. So it took us 4 years to actually get 400 members adopting the Internet Routing Registry. And because the uptake increased, okay, until August, and then it increased again until October, the time that we took these stats. So in this year, we have about 200 members that actually adopted they are using the AFRINIC Routing Registry. Now this, one of the main reasons for this big uptake for this year is that the RIPE NCC has changed the rules for its routing registry. So they're allowing only the resources, the prefixes that have been delegated by the RIPE to organizations to use their routing registry. And what they did was they took aside all these AFRINIC prefixes route object in the route objects, and they've put it aside in what we call a RIPE no-off. So our members here, you can query using Internet IR Explorer on the website. You can actually query where your route objects are. And if they are in the RIPE no-auth and not in the AFRINIC Routing Registry, then come and speak to us, and we'll actually help you migrate and use the AFRINIC Routing Registry. So, and one of the stats, we took these stats in September, of this year. We had more than 2/3 of our membership, more than 1,000 AFRINIC resource members who have been using the RIPE Internet Routing Registry, and there is roughly 49,000 Route 6 objects that are held in those registry. The number of route objects actually don't matter that much, because as we've been helping our members migrate to the internet, to the AFRINIC IRR, what we've observed is they're trying to be good netizens. I mean, when they look at all the route objects that are in the RIPE, they say, no, we don't need that much. So they've been trying to clean up, and this is something that we highly appreciate, because we don't want a high number of route objects in the routing registry if they're not in use. What we want is our members to use the routing registry. Okay. So we'd like to encourage all our members to adopt our routing registry. We provide, the registration services staff provide assistance to migrate the existing route objects from other IRRs. We have a ticket queue, IRR@afrinic.net, to which our members can write to and ask us to assist them. We also published online documentation that help anybody, even if you're working after hours. The documentation is online, so you can check the documentation. We have guides in there, you know, to help our members use it autonomously. And also during the consultations at this meeting, we've been having consultations since Monday. We're hoping that the other members that haven't yet met us, CCK hasn't met us yet, so we're hoping to talk to you until Friday. Another service that we actually are providing support on is resource transfers. As a result of a policy that was ratified in our region, AFRINIC now accepts resource transfers between two organizations that are legally domiciled and originate their services in our service region. This is what we call intra-RIR. It's not between AFRINIC and another RIR, it's within the AFRINIC service region. So the terminology is intra-RIR. And we also have other resource transfers that are usually through mergers and acquisitions. Mergers and acquisitions are not policy based, they are based on guidelines that we have had historically at AFRINIC. The good news is that the resource transfers can be submitted through the MyAFRINIC member portal. Execution has been automated, and we also publish our transfer logs publicly. This is available on our FTP site. When we receive requests for assistance or requests for resources from our members, there are some checks that we currently do, and the reason why we've put these in these slides is we really enforce these checks at the time that service is being requested for. Okay, we verify that the members have a contract, a signed registration contract on file, because as part of an audit of what we have for the members, we discovered that some members were missing the RSA, and the team has worked with members, sent multiple reminders to actually get them to fill in the RSA and share. So this is a check. So if anybody has not responded and they come to us to request for a service, then we start with getting them signing that RSA. All requests must originate from the registered contacts in our organization, which means that if someone who is not a contact in our database for an organization comes to us, we'll actually deny the service until such time that the organization records have been updated. Okay? The reason being, a lot of their staff turnover is a reality of all of our members. So if they have not done so, we request them, we get them to have the contact information updated before we can further help them. And also another thing that we check for is that in good standing, whether the members are in good standing, whether there are no outstanding payments related to the annual membership fees. I have put here a slide regarding the billing timeline. At the moment, our members must have all received the 2019 invoice, and they actually have 4 months to pay until the 28th, last day of February. That is the time that our members can settle the invoice without incurring any penalty fees. Right? And if any one of the members have not received the 2019 invoice, there must be a reason. And one of the reasons that we've seen is they have outstanding 2018 fees. Okay? And these must be cleared as soon as possible to avoid reclamation of resources, because non-payment of fees is considered a breach of the registration services agreement. We have internally at AFRINIC, as hostmasters, the RS team, we have, during our housekeeping activities, we have noted there's some inconsistencies. And these inconsistencies usually would prevent the members from managing their resources as they should. So somehow or the other, these inconsistencies cropped in. So what we have done is we started the work to update WHOIS database objects, okay, for the changes that will not cause service disruptions to the members, okay. And what we also do is for those members who are affected, we also are in contact with them, informing them about the reason of the changes, okay. And in cases where service disruptions may happen, then we actually contact them to plan the resolution of the inconsistencies that we've detected. In terms of the service experience, we have realized that the participation of both staff and the resource member is required in the service delivery process. Remember, the service that the registration services team offers is based on the request for help or request for resources that come from our members. Now, if those requests are not complete, if they ask for help without giving us more information about what is the exact problem that they're facing, what are the troubleshooting steps that they've carried out, then helping them to solve the problem or getting the resource request evaluated, this can cause long delays, all right? And what we've also noticed is, while we do produce guidelines, our members sometimes don't read the guidelines. They don't follow the guidelines as instructed. And this was particularly experienced when the changes at RIPE NCC happened in September, and we published a new IRR guide for our membership, all right? And they were still asking the questions that was already answered in the guidelines. So, we do monitor the efficiency of the registration services core functions. The ticket queues are manned by staff, and we usually keep an eye on the service levels. Are we meeting the service level commitment? This is not always possible. I know that recently, like it's about 1 month ago, the implementation of the lame delegation policy caused a surge in tickets. So the tickets that we're working on doubled overnight. So, which means that we have to work harder, but it takes us longer to reach some tickets. We have a complaints email. This is actually a ticket queue that is manned by senior management, complaints@afrinic.net. Should our membership, our community have complaints in regard to the services, this is the email address that they should use to log the complaints with. And we actually would like to thank those that have used this method of registering the complaints with us, because then we have it on record and we have no choice as to address the issues. So now that we know that there are issues out there, this is the opportunity for us to actually address those issues and ensure that there are no more complaints coming from our membership. And we also have, we gather feedback in our face-to-face meetings during our outreach activities and AFRINIC meetings. This has helped us to improve the way we address tickets, the way we do our evaluation. Some of the feedback received from our members have helped us improve on the documentation, have actually empowered us more, knowing that the more information we publish on the website, the higher the reach, the bigger the reach to our membership. And when they meet us again and say, hey, I used the documentation that you have on your website and I did not have to log a ticket with you, and they're happy. So these are the things we do value feedback that we get from our members. And we have ongoing surveys. Usually when a ticket is resolved, there's an automated link that goes to the requester in those tickets, asking them to fill in that survey. Now, it's important, if the service was good, or was excellent, or even if the service was really bad, it's important that you give us the feedback, because there's a lesson that we have to learn from those tickets, okay? And if we have the feedback, then it helps us to see where in the process or what could have actually caused such a bad service experience. Okay, and if you are happy with the service, then we know what did we do right there. So these are the things that we should be repeating for all the other members as well. And we also have a stakeholder survey. Arthur spoke about it. It's currently ongoing. So in terms of service improvements, we have our resource management process, which is a core process in our ISO certification. And what we're looking at is to reduce the time taken to evaluate a resource request, and also to reduce the number of interactions in a ticket. Okay? And these are backed by improved documentation and how-tos on the website. This documentation figures as a core activity on the activity plan for 2019. We have teach mechanisms. So these come outside the resource request, because sometimes our members, not sometimes, most of the time, our members don't even know under what policy the resource request will be evaluated. So by talking to us outside that, when they're coming to get resources, this is like because they've actually reached 90%, or they think they need more resources. So time is critical for them then. So what we're encouraging is come and talk to us and to find out whether they're compliant with the policy, or what they have in place. Is it compliant with the existing policies? And then if we say, yes, you are, then they can actually submit the resource request. Okay, that's helped us, especially with the new members, okay, in the face-to-face consultations. This has helped a lot, the teach mechanism, because from Nigeria, before I even came back to Mauritius, one resource request was actually approved for a new member based on a face-to-face consultation where we actually had the teach. And we also have automation of tasks that is happening, that has been happening over the years, and also ongoing training of the registration services staff so that they can provide the service to the members. On this, okay, right, so this was my last slide. I would like to thank you for your attention.